I have always been a social gamer, whether I'm taking part in a dedicated multiplayer experience with folks I'm meeting for the first time, or playing on a smaller scale with close friends that I've known for years. There is just something about sharing a passion for the same game as the people around me that makes for a feeling that is simply unmatched. Part of the reason I became a content creator in the first place was to share my love for video games with others, and since the release of co-op and multiplayer for Build 42 in Project Zomboid, I've been reminded of the unique experiences that are only found when in the company of others. In this video, I wanted to not only talk about my love for sharing my gaming experience with other people, but also encourage you, the viewer, to do something unique in your own multiplayer games by using some of my recent exploits as inspiration. This is why Project Zomboid multiplayer is a very special kind of addiction. Now, I wanted to kick things off with a very recent example that my partner Lucy and I set up for the players of our multiplayer server within the last couple of weeks. A fresh wipe had just started that same day, so the server was busy and everyone was starting from scratch. So we jumped in just a couple of hours after launch with one objective: to create something that would make survival for other players just that little bit easier. In the process, we were also hoping to give ourselves a long-term goal, something we could pursue over a reasonable amount of time that would become our ultimate overarching target for the duration of this playthrough. And what we landed on proved to be immensely satisfying. We had decided to claim the West Point Gigamart as our safe house, but we weren't just going in with the mindset of hoarding all the loot to ourselves, quite the opposite, in fact. We wanted to create a fully functioning Gigamart that players could visit, roam the aisles, and trade for items of value. But we had to set everything up first. We spent hours clearing the area of zombies before going out on loot runs, stocking up on useful supplies like canned food, winter clothing, skill books, magazines, just about anything that a struggling survivor could need in post-apocalyptic Kentucky. We even collected a few furniture items like antique stoves and water dispensers. Once we'd acquired all the items we wanted to sell, we sorted them into categories, with each shelf being used for something different. We barricaded the storefront, collected some uniforms from the zombies we had dispatched earlier, and even gave the store a cleanup before we opened to customers. We were able to recruit a couple of other players using the server chat to come and help us out and become our employees. From there, we were able to open the doors and let in other players. Seeing them make their way through the store, picking items from the shelves that we'd spent time and effort collecting really put a smile on my face, and certain key items like generator magazines or skill books that our customers might have spent weeks looking for otherwise were suddenly accessible to them. The fact we were able to set up a fully functioning Gigamart with minimal use of admin or debug controls really makes this something that is easily replicated by just about anyone. I really feel this is something that not enough people are doing in online servers right now, and there's a lot of enjoyment to be gained, both for the person setting everything up and the other people that will stumble across your store. If you want to see what happened when we opened the Gigamart in a bit more detail, you'll be glad to know we posted a video on that quite recently. As much as I love the process for this one, and it gave me some really unique interactions with other players, it was definitely time consuming. One of my other recent experiences might be more suitable for people looking to jump right in with a friend, and it served as a reminder for me as to why I fell in love with Project Zomboid in the first place. Before we jump into that though, if you're looking for another zombie survival game to try where mistakes can cost you everything, then you might be interested in today's sponsor and their upcoming alpha test. This is Nakwon Last Paradise, a third-person zombie apocalypse survival game based in a heavily urbanized area of South Korea. As a refugee at a local safe haven, your task will be to venture into the city overrun with infected in search of much-needed supplies. Other survivors will be competing with you for those same materials, so you'll need to keep your wits about you, stick to the shadows wherever possible, and use audio distractions to your advantage. Whether you cooperate with those around you or betray them for the chance at taking home their spoils as well as your own is completely up to you. The devs are holding a closed alpha test from March 11th to 15th, which has significantly expanded the game's content from their previous pre-alpha test, so be sure to request access and wishlist the game on Steam now so that you're ready to jump in at launch. Now, introducing someone new to Project Zomboid is something that I think everyone is capable of, and you might even enjoy it more than you first expect. Recently, I've had the absolute joy of introducing my friend Deef to the game, and we've made a couple of videos about his experience so far, both before and after multiplayer was implemented on Build 42. So if you haven't seen those yet, they were a blast to make, and we had lots of laughs along the way. Now, Deef had never even touched Project Zomboid before we jumped in, so I had the chance to watch him go through the very same discoveries and revelations that I had many years previous. We all have those games that we wish we could somehow play for the first time all over again, and while realistically we know that's not quite possible, the feeling of watching Deef take his first steps into a zombified Kentucky got pretty darn close. Yes, you will have to be patient with the individual that you bring to the game, and it may even be frustrating at times watching them make some mistakes, but as long as you can be supportive of their efforts, there's some real unadulterated joy to be found for the both of you. Grab a friend, be patient, and take the time to share your passion with them like I did, because believe me, it is absolutely worth it. I think it's fair to say that sometimes Project Zomboid has more than its fair share of bugs and game issues that can put a bit of a dampener on your efforts, especially if we're talking about the unstable branch. While instability is of course expected, there are times when you just can't help but let your frustrations get the better of you. We've seen a lot of that same sentiment on our servers since multiplayer made its return, and while some bugs simply had to be resolved with the use of admin powers, others, a more creative solution was required, and once again I found myself rewarded with some of the best interactions I've had with other players in not just Project Zomboid, but any multiplayer game that I've played. For example, a bug we experienced in the early stages of multiplayer was food simply refusing to cook when placed over a fire or any other cooking appliance for that matter. As you can probably imagine, this meant that players were having trouble with securing a reliable source of food and had to rely on non-perishable items. So our admin team put their heads together and we came up with a couple of ideas. First, a makeshift trading post, somewhere survivors could barter and trade various items, opening at certain times of day and run solely by a member of our admin team. This allowed players to get some of the items they were after, not limited to food, with fair trade rather than being given handouts. It was realistic to the setting and they still had to earn their reward. Next, we went ahead and set up a burger van in the middle of a parking lot in Muldraw. This was more of a direct solution to the cooking bug where players could simply turn up, place their order, and we would handle the rest. We put out some menus, served drinks and fries with the burgers, and bagged up the orders with little vanity items like Spiffo keychains. The players were incredibly good sports with this one. We got some orders wrong at times. They would ask us to do ridiculous things like serve them an entire fish that they had caught or make them 20 burgers at once, and it was both frantic at times and highly enjoyable. Most importantly, the players were able to take away some food that they drastically needed. I suppose what I'm ultimately trying to say here is that while bugs are frustrating for everyone, they can sometimes provide an opportunity for creative solutions and some brilliant interactions that make everyone leave with a smile on their face. So far in this video, I've talked about setups and events that we were able to achieve with the bog standard version of Project Zomboid, that being absolutely vanilla with no mods involved. At the moment, the modding scene for Build 42 multiplayer is a bit thin on the ground since this version was only recently released, and it has a lot of bugs right now, as well as there being some fundamental changes in the way that mods work. It's going to take a bit of time before the modding scene is back in full force, but we're already seeing some of them being updated and new mods making their arrival. I'm reminded of some of the modded overhauls that we hosted on our server throughout Build 41's life cycle, including a full wilderness survival overhaul where we added a bunch of crafting mods to essentially allow players to start with nothing but the clothes on their backs and challenge them to survive with anything they could scavenge, all on our own custom map. Our setups that featured the 10 years later mod were a big hit among our player base too, and it's personally one of my favourite ways to play the game. Resources being scarce and nature seeping into urban areas with the passage of time, and less of a focus on the zombies themselves, but instead on surviving with limited items and food available. Right now, we might not be able to get the most out of modded setups like these in Build 42, but that time is coming, and I for one cannot wait to see what the modding community has been cooking. Now, before I wrap up this video, you'll have to allow me to get just a little bit mushy for a minute or two. Those of you that have followed my channel over the years might already know that my partner Lucy also shares my passion for Project Zomboid, and has even joined me in some of my videos and live streams over on the Twitch channel. What most of you will not be aware of is that we actually met through Project Zomboid and spent much of our early relationship playing the game together in multiplayer for Build 41. Whether it was highly modded setups like the ones I mentioned earlier, or just a bog standard playthrough, we spent hours and hours going through the different ways to experience the best parts of what Project Zomboid had to offer. Within the last few weeks, Lucy has actually relocated to England and we started living together, a big step forward for both of us nearly 2 years after we initially got together. Just a few weeks before that, multiplayer was released on the unstable branch of Build 42, and we've started playing together again as Lucy has been settling in, which made me think about just how much I owe to this game and the developers behind it. Now I'm once again able to spend time with one of the people that I care about most in my life, enjoying something that we both love. And it's all down to the unmatched potential that Project Zomboid's multiplayer can bring to the table. So that's just about it from me in this video. Hopefully it encourages some of you to try the different ways to play Project Zomboid that you hadn't considered before now. Jump into a multiplayer sometime, or at the very least, it resonated with a handful of you watching this. As a final sort of send-off for this video, I'd love to hear from you guys on some of your best stories from multiplayer, because I know there will be some great ones out there. Drop it down in the comments for me and share those stories with some like-minded individuals, because believe me, there will be some great messages to take away from some of those very same stories. If you'd like to play multiplayer in a welcoming PvE-focused environment, we now have both public and whitelisted Patreon servers for Project Zomboid, and all you need to do is join our Discord for the server details. Then head to the PZ server announcements channel. You can find a link to that down in the description, and maybe you'll be able to get involved with some of the events mentioned in this video. Thanks folks, and I will see you all in the next one.